Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive her King. Let every heart prepare him room. Let heaven and nature sing. You rule the world with truth and grace, and make the nations prove the glories of your righteousness. Wonders, wonders of your love. Your love. Teach us to love people and treat people and see people the way you do. And bring joy to the world.
Many of us have Christmas traditions, whether that be decorating the tree with our family or setting out milk and cookies for Santa, or maybe even heading in the car with a cup of hot cocoa and driving around the neighborhood to look at all of the beautiful lights and decorations. In my family, we don't have many Christmas traditions, but one tradition that we have is that my mother will make tomato aspic for Christmas Eve dinner. Now, I know what you're thinking. What in the world is tomato aspic? And trust me, I too have asked this question over the years. But just picture this. It's basically this tomato-flavored Jell-O. I know, pretty gross. And it usually has things like celery or onions sometimes, and even green olives. And to top it all off, my mother will make it in this Christmas tree mold and put whole green olives all around it, like little ornaments. And it's festive, she says, right? With the red from the tomato and the green from the green olive. And it's honestly as gross as it sounds. And every year, my sister and I beg my mother not to make it, because obviously we are convinced that it will ruin Christmas. I mean, I just think about the smell of the tomato and olives on Christmas Eve, and it lingers on days after she makes it. And there are leftovers left in the fridge for so long because nobody will even touch it except for my mother. But nevertheless, every year there's a little corner cut out of the tomato jelly Christmas tree. And as it sits on the dinner table, staring back at us, my mother begins to tell a story of how my grandmother used to make it at Christmas Eve. My mom begins to tell all of these wonderful stories about her Christmas memories. And sure enough, my dad will chime in and he'll start to tell his Christmas memories. And sure enough, by the end of it, our whole family is remembering and laughing and telling stories that have brought our family closer together. And then in the end have brought us great joy. And despite my expectation that this tomato jelly is going to ruin Christmas, sure enough, it's something that brings our family great joy. And when I think about the year 2020 and all that has happened, I'm sure that there are many reasons to convince us why Christmas might be ruined this year. But as I listen to stories from my family, or I even read stories in the Bible, what I've learned is that God has a funny way about taking our expectation of disappointment or failure or even dread and turning it into something where we can find great joy. I think about the story of Mary, and when she's first told that she's going to give birth to Jesus, I can only imagine what she might have felt. Probably overwhelmed and scared. And I also wouldn't be surprised if the thought crossed through her mind, this is going to ruin my life. But thankfully, that moment is fleeting. And God provides people like Joseph and Elizabeth to come alongside of Mary to love her and to support her. And God reminds her, I am with you. You are not alone. And you know what Mary does? You know how she responds to God? She begins to sing a song of praise. She begins to find great joy in this moment where joy had seemed to be lost. And that is my hope, that is my prayer for us this week as we make way for joy. That in this Christmas season, regardless of if it may not be normal, if it may not meet our expectation, that we find those moments of joy. And that we begin to praise and thank God for the birth of Christ.